Hello class and welcome to the video presentation on the digestive system. Hope you guys are having a great break, and I know I am. It's been amazing. Um, anyway, hopefully this will help you guys out. We only have 1 week to cover the digestive system, so make sure you guys are taking out your notes right now, getting ready, and I will see you on class on Monday. But let's dive into this. We're going to find out what happened to that donut you ate for breakfast. Maybe you didn't eat a donut and something more healthy. I'm thinking about bringing some snacks or something on class on Monday. We're going to be making a Play-Doh digestive guy, and judging as a whole class and see who is our digestive system sculpture master on Monday. But anyway, one thing I wanted to tell you guys about is there is free tutoring and extra credit starting now. I know a lot of you guys have sent emails about that, wanting to increase your grade. The last couple modules have been pretty hard, and some of you guys struggled a lot or a little bit on the previous exams and quizzes. So I wanted to help you guys with that. There will be extra credit. I'll be talking about that on Monday, so be ready. As far as tutoring goes, I would like to help you guys out. So a lot of you know that I teach two other classes, teach CPR and history, but I'm gonna do my best to get all that stuff done before Monday so I can devote time to you guys. I'm gonna be in study hall and just around Grace to really help you understand these concepts that you don't know. So if you're struggling with a certain area, or if you would just like me to go over it a little bit more with you and just see how you're understanding this, if and maybe help you guys out, I would be willing to do that. So find me. I'll be in usually around hanging out around where the study hall area is. If you want to just go over everything, and I could literally just test you and see if you know the information and if you and help you with things that you're not quite understanding. So take advantage of this. I guarantee if you do this, you will get way better grades on your exam because I will tell you really what you need to know. And yeah, take advantage of that offer. So the digestive system, jumping into this now, is the basic process of how your food is broken down into smaller particles. So obviously, when you eat a big piece of that steak or a double double at In-N-Out, it doesn't stay in that form. Okay, your body can't use that. So basically, every single thing is composed of atoms. So if you see, here I'm gonna get that pointer out right here. If you see right here, this is a fatty acid. Okay, and so the thing about all living things, and I know a lot of you haven't covered chemistry yet, but all living things have this thing called carbon. Okay, so carbon and then hydrogen surrounding it. Okay, this little chemical formula. This is how God designs a fat. So when a lot of these combine together, it forms a little piece of fat. Okay, so fat is used for energy, and that's just one of the things. We're going to talk about carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and a lot of things today. But um, anyway, so you see these big proteins. Proteins are the big form. Okay, they turn into lots of amino acids. That's the tiny form. Okay, amino acids again are remember like Legos, and you put a lot of those Legos together, and it makes a nice structure, a protein. Same thing. Carbohydrates are the finished structure here, and they're made up of a ton of tiny things called monosaccharides, which is a lot of these molecules bonded together. And finally, fatty acids. An In-N-Out burger is composed of all these things, proteins, carbohydrates, but it also has lots of those fatty acids. So those fatty acids are carbon and hydrogen surrounding it. Uh, so here we go, a little bit more talking about that. As you can see, a little bit more visual form here. So you see a lot of amino acids on this side form together, bind together in all different forms, okay, to make a peptide, and then those peptides form together to make a protein. So the body, when you're digesting it, it goes the opposite way. So it starts out as this big protein, then your body breaks it down into peptides, and then it breaks it into amino acids. So amino acids are the things that your body can use. Those are the form that your cells can use. They can't just take in one of these giant proteins through the cell wall, and I meant the cell membrane. They have to use it in this manageable form. So your digestive system helps break those down. Same thing, a polysaccharide is a lot of these um, glucose molecules, and glucose is sugar, bonded together. So your body takes this giant polysaccharide, breaks it into disaccharides, and then into monosaccharides, and now your body can use it for energy. So here's some basic anatomy of the digestive system. We have three salivary glands, so the stuff that makes you spit. We have the parotoid salivary gland right by your ear over here. Okay, we have your sublingual, like by your chin. Okay, and your submandibular. So look at the word here, sub, so behind the mandible. So pretty easy. And behind the linguoids and parotoid. All right, so that is your 3 salivary glands. We have your pharynx right here, your oral cavity, your tongue, the diaphragm right here. This isn't actually part of the digestive system, it's part of the respiratory system. They just put it in there. You can see your liver, okay? This is where your liver's at. Then we have your stomach, your pancreas, and you guys can just look at this. We're going to talk about each one of these in a little bit more detail. So there's 5 main phases of digestion. You're going to know all these. First one is ingestion. You literally just grab that piece of hamburger and you eat it, okay? You're ingesting it. Movement, that piece of food, the bolus, travels down the esophagus into the stomach and so forth, okay? And then mechanical and chemical digestion. So mechanical digestion would be something just like chewing it up, okay? That's mechanical. You're chewing that thing and you're physically biting at, tearing that pieces of food to shreds, okay? I'm trying to get it into those smaller molecules. But still, those molecules are way too large for your cells to do anything with. So that's where chemical digestion comes in. And chemical digestion, it happens when it breaks those molecules into really tiny ones your body can use, and that occurs mainly in the small intestine. Okay? Then absorption. Okay? Absorption is now your cells absorbing all of those delicious nutrients in that small molecular form. So it's absorbing all of that good stuff. And then elimination is what you guys know as poop. Okay? You get NP. You get rid of all the stuff that you don't want because your body doesn't need it, or it's just too much, or the stuff that's just, yeah, we don't need it anymore. So elimination, that's how you get rid of it. So there's this thing called the alimentary canal, okay? And by the way, feel free to pause this video whenever you need to, because it's the beautiful thing about video lectures is you can pause them and you can make me shut up whenever you want. That's just pretty cool. So the alimentary canal, it's this straight tube that pretty much goes all the way through your body and then out the other end. So it starts at the mouth, the first opening, and ends at the anus, the second opening. So it's what they call it is a tube within a tube. It's a direct link and path between organs. So the structures of the alimentary canal. So my little pointer here, okay, is like your food, okay? We'll use the analogy of a piece of steak again. Delicious filet mignon. Enter into the mouth. Mechanical digestion. Chew, 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 chew. Yum. Goes all the way down the esophagus into the stomach. Gets fried up by acids and all kinds of stuff in the stomach. Then it enters into the small intestine. And you can see that the small intestine is extremely long. Look how long it goes. So here's my little piece of steak traveling all the way down the small intestine. During this time, absorption's happening. And that piece of steak is now getting broken into a ton of little polypeptides and then into amino acids. Okay? So now your cells are absorbing all that protein and it's still going down, getting absorbed into the large intestine here. And we'll learn about what this large intestine does in a second. And then finally, all the extra stuff that we don't need is dumped out and your body doesn't need it anymore, so why keep it in there? So your alimentary canal just connects itself. It's all connected together. Okay, that is what your alimentary canal does. So let's talk about these steps in a little bit more detail. So step 1 is the mouth. Teeth mechanically break down the food into smaller pieces. The tongue mixes food with saliva, which contains these enzymes. So whenever you see this word called this ACE, okay, so ACE, A-S-E, that is an enzyme, okay? So look for ACE and then enzyme, because those go together. So it contains amylase, which is an enzyme that breaks down starch. So it attacks those carbohydrate molecules and turns it into smaller pieces. So your epiglottis is a flap-like structure at the back of the throat that closes over the trachea, preventing food from entering it. If you didn't have the epiglottis, you'd be swallowing food down your lungs all the time, and that would really be bad, and you would choke and you would die. So this guy is very helpful here, the epiglottis. The soft palate closes off the nasal cavity so you don't chew food and then it goes up your nose. That would also be bad. So the actual act of swallowing is called deglutition. Let me try that again. Deglutition. Okay, it's called deglutition, and then so when the food you're actually eating, the scientific term for that is called the bolus. So I'm going to start calling it the bolus the rest of the time. So whenever you're eating any type of food, you're eating the bolus. Okay, it's called the bolus. So the large parotoid salivary glands, you can look at that one, right? Go back a couple slides and see the anatomy. The large parotoid, sublingual, and submandible release saliva. And remember, guys, saliva contains that enzyme called amylase. which helps break down food. So here we go in swallowing. Swallowing, there's 3 stages here. Here's your voluntary oral stage, which means you are in control. When you decide to grab that piece of burger and start eating it, the voluntary oral stages means you can still spit that food out. Okay, you're in control. The pharyngeal stage, the soft palate lifts and you cannot breathe. So for a second, if you try this and you try eating like a piece of food and you start swallowing, at one point you cannot breathe for like half a second, okay? Because the soft palate lifts, closes off the lungs, because you do not want to swallow food down your lungs. That's the pharyngeal stage. Finally, the esophageal stage, the smooth muscle contracts, okay? So your esophagus is actually lined with that smooth muscle, and it relaxes to push that food through the esophagus, because you don't want your food just stuck in your esophagus. That would be bad too. So the smooth muscle contracts and pushes it down, and gravity helps as well, and pushes that into the stomach. So another special term is peristalsis. Okay, peristalsis is the process of contraction and relaxation of circular smooth muscle that pushes through the alimentary canal. So all along that alimentary canal back here, guys, there's smooth muscle lining everything. And that smooth muscle is continually pushing food to keep the process going, because you don't want food just collecting there and staying there and getting stuck, okay? So that is called peristalsis, is this term for the smooth muscle pushing things through. Here we go. Now we're talking about the esophagus. It's this highlighted portion in red right here, okay? It's approximately 10 inches long. That's it, okay? And functions include secreting mucus to lubricate that bad boy, moves food from the throat all the way down to the stomach using, what is it? Peristalsis. We just talked about it. And the thing is, if acid gets in the stomach, okay, there's a problem. If acid actually gets from the stomach, gets into the esophagus, it causes heartburn. And a lot of people actually confuse heartburn with a heart attack because it kind of feels the same. It's that chest pain and stuff. So most of the time it is heartburn, but still, whenever somebody complains of chest pain and whatever, you really want to be careful with that, because it could be either heartburn or a heart attack. A heart attack, obviously, a lot more serious. So the stomach, we're talking about the stomach now. The major functions of the stomach, okay? Another fact is the food in the stomach is actually called chyme. So it becomes the bolus, and then when it's in the stomach, it has its own little special name. It's called chyme. Chimey, slimy stomach. All right? Remember that. The chimey, slimy stomach. So storage of ingested food and mechanical breakdown of ingested food by gastric juice. Okay, gastric juice is the yummy, juicy stuff that lies in the stomach. It's the acid. Disruption of chemical bonds in the food material by acid and enzyme. So remember, guys, it starts out as that big, giant polypeptide protein, or that big polysaccharide, and those are all those amino acids and those tiny molecules and those glucose molecules are all binded together by these bonds, okay? These chains, these bonds. And so the stomach is so strong, the acid there is so strong that it starts breaking those bonds apart and forming and making it form into individual molecules. Also, the stomach is really helpful because it kills most of the bacteria using that acid. So a lot of the bacteria can't survive those conditions and it kills them. It also produces this thing called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is a glycoprotein. So glyco is a glucose, meaning sugar, and then protein, so it bonds together, required for the absorption of vitamin B12. So B12 is a very important vitamin, and the stomach helps produce that. So now we're going to talk a little bit about this thing called the pH scale. If you guys took any chemistry or learned about this when you're younger, very good chance you have. A pH scale is basically the scale that talks about how acidic or basic something is. So basic is stuff like, once you get to pH 12, that's super strong. That's like household bleach, okay? And hand soap is pH 10. Human blood is pH 7.4. And water, pure water, like distilled, beautiful, yummy water, is right at 7, okay? So 7 is the perfect balance, right in the middle. Then you start getting more acidic. pH 5 would be like human urine. And then tomato juice is pH 4, a little bit acidic there, okay? Finally, you go down to like stuff like gastric juice in your stomach. It's like 2, okay? And then like 1 and 0, that would be like sulfuric acid, like the really strong, gnarly stuff that can just melt a hole in your face, like if you just get a drop on it. Okay, that stuff is really gnarly and really disgusting and very dangerous. Okay, in a chemistry class when I was in high school, we decided to drop a penny in sulfuric acid, and it melted the entire penny really quickly, which is crazy. So you can imagine what that would do to you. But anyway, your stomach isn't that strong. The acid is pH 2, and that would be sulfuric acid's like 0. So that is the pH scale. The stomach has a pH of about 1 to 2, depending on what it is, where it is. So battery acid is 1, for example. So that's stuff that your parents always tell you not to play with batteries, and you see that white powdery stuff when it's an old battery and you left it in the sun or in the water or something. That's battery acid. Mucus is the reason our stomachs don't digest themselves. So the stomach's actually lined with tons and tons of yummy mucus that prevents the pH of the acid from just destroying the stomach from the inside out. Pepsin, this thing called pepsin, not Pepsi, but pepsin, helps break down proteins into very small chains of amino acids. So also helps. So protein and pepsin, they go together. Pepsin helps break down proteins. It's also in the stomach. The stomach is controlled by both your nervous system and your endocrine system. So your brain can tell your stomach to start going harder, and also your endocrine system can do that same exact thing by releasing hormones. So here is the small intestine. We have the duodenum at the top. So it's broken into 3 main sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Okay, so the duodenum is the first part. Here's my little burger. Starts in the duodenum. It's the shortest part here. Then it goes into the jejunum, okay, and travels through there. Then it enters into the ileum, and then the ileum enters into the large intestine right here. Connects right here, and then goes into the large intestine. So that's your 3 sections. So the duodenum, we're starting with that. Remember still, that's the purple guy up here. The duodenum is the segment of the small intestine that is closest to the stomach. Okay, closest to the stomach. And it is about 25 centimeters or 10 inches long. And the duodenum is also known as the mixing bowl. Mixing bowl that receives slimy stuff from the stomach and digestive system, and also receives stuff from the pancreas and liver. So it's a mixing bowl. All these good stuff from all these different digestives or organs meet together in the duodenum, and they become a big smoothie of yumminess. And the functions of the duodenum is to receive slimy stuff from the stomach, and it also neutralizes those acids before they can damage the absorptive surfaces of the small intestine. Okay, so this guy also helps when that bolus comes out of the stomach. It's very acidic. Okay, and if the duodenum didn't help unacidize it, then it would be very damaging to the other portions of the small intestine. So it needs to kind of chill that acid down and make that pH go closer back to like 7, more neutral. The jejunum is that second part of the small intestine. It is the middle segment. It is about 2.5 meters or 8.2 feet long. It is in the location of most of the chemical and nutrient absorption. So that's a very important part to remember about the jejunum. It is the location of most of the chemical digestion and nutrient absorption. So it's these things called microvilli, and microvilli line these portions of the jejunum. And what they do is they're pretty much like little vacuums that suck up, they suck up a lot of the nutrients. And by this point that it gets to the jejunum, a lot of those big polypeptides and big carbohydrate molecules are now broken into amino acids and broken into glucose and fructose and all those tiny little ones. And now your body can absorb it. And when it absorbs it, that goes into the bloodstream. And when those molecules are in the bloodstream, your cells can then take them and say, yummy glucose molecule. I need that protein. Okay, it can take that in that form. Okay, so the jejunum is where most of this chemical digestion and nutrient absorption occurs. Finally, the ileum is the final segment of the small intestine. It is about 3.5 meters or 11.48 feet, almost 12 feet long. It ends at the ileocecal valve, and it's a sphincter that controls the material from the ileum to the large intestine. So basically, more nutrient absorption occurs here, and everything that the jejunum missed, more stuff happens, and then it finally connects to the large intestine. So we talked about microvilli, so we're going to get into a little bit more detail. This is what they look like. Nutrients from the food pass into the bloodstream through the small intestine walls. So it absorbs, the microvilli in the small intestine absorbs 80% of all ingested water. So every time you drink water, most of that water is getting absorbed by these microvilli here. It also collects vitamins and minerals and carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, etc. Okay, so here, let's check this out. Here is the small intestine, and it is shown right here, and you can see these little villi. It's like Think about like a carpet, okay? Each piece of carpet is 1 microvilli, and outside on this layer right here, there's the smooth muscle layers that help with peristalsis, and then you can see these veins carrying blood, okay? And so when those villi right here absorb these nutrients and suck them out, okay, they connect to these blood capillaries. So you see these blood capillaries just surrounding them, okay? And when it absorbs it, those all of those tiny little molecules are then able to be taken by the capillaries and placed into the bloodstream, and then your cells can use them. Okay? And this is happening. There's billions and billions of these microvilli. It's so cool how God designed it. We are so complex. Even the simple process of just digestion is beautiful. Okay? And it's just crazy. This is no way this could all happen by chance. And that is the basic process of microvilli, and there's a lot more we can get into, but this is high school, by the way, so we're not going to get into a whole lot of detail. So accessory organs are technically not part of the alimentary canal. They're not connected to that big tube, but they can still play a huge role in digestion. So those include the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the bile passage. So the liver. Liver is definitely the most complicated organ in the digestive system, and we're not going to go into everything. Again, though, it's a beautiful display of God's creation. And you think the liver is just like this basic massive tissue in your body that you probably had no idea what it did before, but it is very complicated. Its main job is to produce bile, which is responsible for breaking down fats, and it is stored in the gallbladder and then released into the small intestine. So bile really helps break down those fats. There's these things called hepatocytes, and they form 99% of the liver. So they're cells called hepatocytes. Lots of hepatocytes come together and form the liver. What they do is they produce bile. So without bile, your fats don't get digested right. Finally, second one is storage of nutrients. So glycogen is a lot of glucose molecules all coagulated together. That's like in the form of carbs. And anyway, when your blood sugar is too high, it makes glycogen. So interestingly enough, if you have too much sugar, okay, too much sugar or too much carbs, your body can't deal with it, okay? Your body can only handle so much carbs, and at that point, it starts converting into fat, okay? So your liver converts excess sugar and excess carbohydrates into fat. So that's why it's really, if you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to maintain a healthy diet, eating a lot of carbs, especially in the form of soda and sugar and stuff like that, and also like just white bread and stuff, like a lot, if you have more than that ceiling amount your body can handle in a given day, it just converts it right into fat, just directly into fat that you store. Okay. We're going down to number 4, synthesis proteins used in blood clotting. So it helps make blood clotting proteins. Phagocytosis, it eats the bad guys. It is also involved in the immune system, and it detoxifies alcohol. Okay, your liver is the place that if you decide to drink alcohol someday, alcohol is not a natural thing, and it would just hurt your body a lot if you didn't have your liver. Okay, so that's why you see a lot of alcoholics having problems with their liver, like complete liver failure, and then they die because they have pushed their liver to the absolute limit, and your liver can't deal with it anymore. When your liver can't deal with that alcohol, it does really bad things to your body. And here we go. Here's the gallbladder, this tiny little thing. Stores bile from the liver. It's a little storage container, and it releases it into the duodenum of the small intestine, and your small intestine is able to break down fats and stuff. Okay. So if you're eating lots and lots and lots of fat and your McDonald's is your BFF, and every day, very routine habit of just consuming lots of those fatty acids, especially in the form of saturated fats and trans fats and all that good stuff, it can create these things called gallstones. They look like rocks, nasty. What it is just bile and turns into a hard stone. It can cause lots of damage. You just don't want rocks circulating around your body. Your body's not made to circulate rocks around your body. So really gross, but those are actually from bile. The pancreas, we talked about that when we went over the endocrine system, regulates blood sugar by producing insulin and glucagon, produces digestive enzymes to digest fats, carbohydrates, and protein. So again, helps in the digestive system and endocrine. It's a double duty organ. Finally, the large intestine. It's about 5 feet long, and it accepts what the small intestines don't absorb. So everything that doesn't get absorbed in the small intestine comes here. And what happens in this is uh, it's like a short-term storage which holds the feces or the poop before it's expelled. It absorbs the last bit of water, okay, so everything that the large intestine couldn't absorb with water in one place. And finally, it has 100 trillion, whoa, 100 trillion bacteria, over 3 pounds. Okay, so there's over 3 pounds of large intestine bacteria just chilling in your large intestine. And what those guys do is they break down carbs, kill harmful bacteria. So there's good bacteria in your body. Not all bacteria are bad. And they do many other wonderful things for your body. And farting is a reason, is the gas is released from these bacteria out your butt and it causes a fart. That's what those guys do. Okay. Oh, and then the reason there's a farting cow with fire is one of the gases that's produced from these bacteria is methane, and it can cause, it's very flammable. So extremely flammable gas. Um, Functions of gut microbiomes, guys. Just so you know, you don't have to know all this stuff. I'm just showing you that this is the reason why those bacteria in your gut are good. They do a lot of stuff. Okay, so you don't have to know all of these, but yeah, they're very useful. Be thankful for your gut bacteria and happy bacteria chilling in your gut. Look at them; they're so happy. All right, and that's the end. We hopefully this made you hungry. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it made you gross and you don't want to eat anything the rest of the day. I don't know. Let me know. And I might bring some snacks on Monday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this and have a blessed rest of your break. I'll be praying for you guys. If you need anything, let me know. And be ready for extra credit and tutoring. Take me up on that offer. I'm willing to help you guys. I will see you later. Bye.